Great. I see it live on both platforms. All right, I am starting to see some folks hopping on with us. So we are starting here in one moment. So reply to this video if you would like to engage with us. You can also react to the video so I can see who you are and we can get kicked off for the week. All right, let's get going. Well, happy Monday, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on to our Mondays with the Mayor, giving you a nice overview of COVID and updates in City Hall with City Council and things and resources, not only in our city or county, but even state. I am Juliette Abdel, your Westminster Chamber President and CEO, and I'm always so thrilled to kick off the week with our Mayor and with all of you. It just sets the tone for kind of what we should be looking at and looking forward to. So before I delve deep into what our topic is, and of course our mayor takes this over, I like to give you some housekeeping. If you've not already done so, connect with us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Westy Chamber. We're also on LinkedIn and YouTube at Westminster Chamber of Commerce. Our website directly for you is westminsterchamber.biz. If you've never gone to it before, now is the time for you to start typing that in or save it in your favorites for later on. Now, of course, all of our social media platforms allow for us to engage with you and share information in different forms. And sometimes it's different information that we share on different platforms. So if you go to our Instagram feed, it's going to be entirely different from our Twitter, etc. We do that so that you can absorb the information in the way that platform is, but more importantly, so you're not seeing repetitive information continually. Now, if you are a first-time viewer with us, I want to thank you for coming on here with us and make sure that you are liking our page and that you are signed up to get those notifications by hitting the follow button. And if you're a returning viewer to us, thank you for being with us for over a year and a half now that we've been having these videos. All of them are available in the video section of our Facebook page for you to rewind and rewatch and pause, especially if it's information that you really want to start researching after we are no longer live. So along the way, when our mayor is sharing the information, if you have thoughts, questions, or comments, please type them in. Our mayor is on top of those comments, and I will also do my best to try and pull in those questions where we have breaks. So feel free to engage with us because this is your time, and we want to make sure that the information that you're receiving is relevant to you and it answers all of your questions. So I already see a few of you have started commenting with us. I see Tara giving us a nice good morning message. If you do comment or provide us a question, it will not only show what your comment is, it will also show your photo and your name, like our past chairman, Brian Head, our one of our award winners and awesome partners, Parker Brown from Carrabba's. Good morning to you, Parker. And then I see Jessica. Hello to you, Jessica. I believe you are coming back to us just recently, having started engaging with us on our videos. So thank you so much for being here. And then I also see Mayor Pro Tem DeMott on this broadcast. So we've got a lot of folks with us, Mayor, and I know that you have some information that you would like to share our way. So I will turn this over to you, and I'll do my best to capture all of it in the comment section for others to be able to follow along.
So thank you, Juliet, and thank you all of the members of the chamber who have logged on today to listen to Juliet and I give a brief update to everyone, first on COVID and then on what's going on in the city. I wanted to really quickly give you some updates on COVID in the news. Many of you may have seen last week that Adams County announced their intention to leave Tri-County Health Department. So the commissioners in Adams County plan to bring a resolution tomorrow, actually, to public hearing. It will remain, Adams County's intention is to remain with Tri-County Health Department through December of 2022. They are legally obligated to do that. This will end a 55-year partnership with the Tri-County Health Department. There was a quote from Chair Eva Henry that Douglas County's decision left them no choice but to reevaluate the future of public health services in Adams County. As a result, Adams County must determine the best option to move ahead for a health board and services provided to residents. I have included a link so you can look at the news story. I was not aware that this was kind of in the mix before it was announced. So I have reached out and just trying to understand. They're wanting to make sure that their public health response is tailored to the unique needs of Adams County. And this is an effort to do that. If you have strong opinions either way, it is going to be a public hearing tomorrow. So you are more than welcome to participate in that public hearing.
Absolutely. And I have included that link that our mayor has shared. Feel free to read that information so you can get a better understanding. And as the mayor is going through some additional information, I'll also include the link for you for the Board of County Commissioners meeting. That's tomorrow, should you be interested in following that on a more robust level.
That sounds great. Thank you for including that, Juliet. I had not given her that link, so she's just showing us her amazing multitasking skills right now. I did want to give some great news. According to Dr. Fauci, vaccines for kids ages 5 to 11 could be available as early November. So this is good news. In fact, the Food and Drug Administration is going to meet tomorrow to discuss a request from Pfizer and BioNTech to allow lower dose pediatric coronavirus vaccines to be administered to that age group. So that's the FDA obviously has the final say, so we don't want to get ahead of that, but it is looking good that will happen. There is a link from the Washington Post in regards to that. And then additionally, Moderna had positive news that was released this morning that their vaccine, I think it's about a 50% dose, has shown to be very effective for children 6 to 11. And so they will be, obviously they're behind Pfizer in the process, but they will be submitting a request to the FDA as well. And I do know that equity in distributing these vaccines for children is something that they're really focusing on. We want to make sure that all children have equal access once they become available. Now some not so great news. Nearly 90% of ICU beds throughout all of Colorado are full. Colorado health experts have said this most recent wave of hospitalizations is different than the ones we saw last winter because not all of the patients that they're seeing are COVID patients. So there's a lot of COVID patients, but then there's a lot of people that are going for high level acuity issues that are not COVID related. And it might be because people delayed treatment prior, like last year during COVID. So we're really seeing a huge impact on our medical system. So earlier this week, this is a quote from Governor Polis. We jumped to over 1,000 hospitalizations for COVID in our state. So of the 1,130 patients hospitalized with COVID-19, 893 of them are unvaccinated. So I believe that's answering a question that I was asked last week, which was, what percentage are vaxxed or unvaxxed that are getting hospitalized? And so this is a snapshot, but kind of giving you that ratio. Of those that are vaccinated that are hospitalized, their average age is 73. The average age for an unvaccinated person that is hospitalized is 57. Okay. And there is a news article that you can look at this information more in depth. So that's it for headlines. As always, if you'd like to look at the state data yourself, Tri-County Health data, or Jefferson County Public Health Department data, I've included the links. But now I'd like to go through kind of the metrics that I share every week and see how we're trending. And it's not great news. In Adams County, we had, and I can tell one of these data points is wrong. In Adams County, we went for the 7-day cumulative per 100,000. We went from 210.47 last week to 249.09 this week. So that's a pretty big jump when we had already jumped pretty significantly before. And I'm just double check this. This number is right. So actually the number in Jefferson County went down. It was at 182.4 last week, and it went down to 175.6. So again, remember with the Jefferson County health data, this is a week old. At 4 o'clock today, we'll be getting new numbers. So we're kind of looking at a Jeffco in arrears, whereas Tri-County Health Department data is as of yesterday. The 7-day average test positivity in Adams County went up to 9.9% of those tested for COVID tested positive. The previous week, it was 9.25%. So this is pretty alarming. That's a pretty high level of prevalence in those being tested. In Jefferson County, it also went up, but not dramatically. It went from 6.3% of those tested being positive to 6.5%. Hospitalizations. So those went up pretty dramatically in both counties. In Adams County, there are 167 COVID or presumed COVID cases hospitalized. Only 11 of those are people that they're assuming are under suspicion of COVID or assumption of COVID. The week before, it was 141 with 16 being presumed positive. So that's a pretty big jump. In Jefferson County, it went from 49 to 60. So the next numbers I'll give you, I'll remind you, we don't have available for Jefferson County. We only have them available for Adams County. But in Adams County, our ICUs are at 95.5% full with only 4.5% capacity. Last week, they were at 90.9% full with 9.1% capacity. Inpatient beds, so this is med surge, ICU, all of them together are at 96.8% full or 3.2% capacity. That starts to get me nervous. I have a family member who's going in for a pretty serious surgery that's not COVID related on Wednesday. You know, I never thought that one of the things I'd be worrying about is making sure he's going to have bed space so that we can continue to have the surgery. Has a pretty wide-ranging impact on folks in the community. Next, this is the number that really Councilor Seymour on Westminster City Council really likes to focus, because back in the day, we no longer have this, but we were in clear as long as we didn't get over 2 admissions per day, like average 2 admissions per day over a 14-day period. And right now, per 100,000, right now we're at 1.06 in Adams County. Previously, last week, it was at 0.9793. So even under our old metrics, we're a ways away from going from clear to the next level up where they would have had restrictions. So as dire as I'm saying, it's not, again, and that's probably the capacity issues with the hospital, is because a lot of that is other issues besides COVID. In Jefferson County, just slightly higher, 1.15 per 100,000 average over a 14 days. So it went up from 1.02. And then the vaccination rate, it was interesting. Last week, I told you in Jefferson County, it was 80.4, but they actually downgraded it to 79.7. So I don't know if they reevaluated their data, but 79.7% of those eligible for a vaccine have had at least one dose. And in Adams County, it is 78.6%. It looks like I saw some questions might have popped
Yes.
there. So let's pause there and answer those
Yeah.
questions.
So we have some quick comments. I know our mayor went in detail on some of the tests that are going through at the FDA level for Moderna and Pfizer, specifically for some of the adolescent ages 12 and under. And there was a quick comment from Tara on that it was exciting news. So for those of you that may be parents or have kids or caregivers to kids and maybe were interested in this. That was Tara's comment earlier on. We had a couple of questions come up as it related to the numbers that we were sharing around the ICU beds and even the information in general on COVID. So these both come to us actually from Jessica. So I'm going to flash the question. I'll also read it myself to give us an opportunity to see that and give the mayor a chance to answer it for us. Jessica is asking what the average rate of the ICU bed usually is in a normal year, if that is something that we have and can share with folks.
I don't have that information, Jessica. And I think that's a really good question, because one of the things, this is why I try to always have data for what was last week so we can kind of see context and how we're trending. And saying a number on its own isn't as relevant of knowing how that compares to typical usage. So what I will commit to, I'm going to text Dr. Comstock from Jefferson County and Dr. Douglas from Tri-County and see if that data is available so that we can have that. But I think that's very fair. And one thing we should ask is not just what is typical ICU bed usage for the year, but this time of year, because perhaps it, escalates during the holiday months or the fall. So let's compare apples to apples. So I will have that. I think that's an excellent question, and I'll have that for you next week.
I think it's so interesting because we try and give numbers and data points, but there are always additional things and layers that we can look at. And so questions like these are great for thought provoking and allow us to kind of look at this and in a different lens. So thank you, Jessica, for that. Jessica also came back to us a little bit later. And this was right around the time, I think, that we were discussing our vaccines percentage, not only in Jeffco and in Adams County, some of the changes that we've seen in the numbers for those that were eligible for vaccines or the population that has already been vaccinated. So Jessica's curious to know, do we have a breakdown? So of the two counties that we've provided, Adams County and Jefferson County, the number of folks that are vaccinated, how many of those are actually vaccinated Westminster adults? Does it get down to that type of data for us to be able to share?
This is one of the drawbacks of being in two different counties. I think that we could find out, most likely I could drill down what percentage of Westminster residents within one of the health departments are. But because as a whole, we don't know that. So I can look and see if I can get that, what percentage of Westminster residents in Jeffco and what percentage of Westminster residents in Adams, but I'm not sure if that information is available. But I will not be able to get the whole kit and caboodle of our city because of the different public health departments that govern us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for both of those questions, Jessica. We'll do our best to get you some form of an answer, hopefully relatively soon. We'll place that in the comment section so everyone is able to see that. And of course, we'll likely also reference that next week for you all to be able to just kind of get those in your mind as well. So those are a couple of questions that came from our audience as we were kind of giving the broad numbers. Again, our mayor touched on numbers for Jeffco, for Adams. We also included links that I quickly flashed, and I'll try and flash them again here in a second for those of you that might be interested in kind of going in more depth on your own. Tri-County Health Department data numbers are included for you. Jeffco, their data number link is also included. And for the state of Colorado, that link is also included for you as well. I don't see any additional questions right now, but feel free to type them in as our mayor continues. We'll put you in the queue, and we'll try and answer them at our next breaking point in between content.
So last week, I'm just going to give a quick update on what happened last week in Westminster. We had a little bit of a respite as Westminster City Council, as we only had information only items on our agenda for Monday. So we did not have a study session. And we talked about those items last week. I do want to also bring up, we had an event that was a really important event. And I know Mayor Pro Tem David DeMont is on this broadcast today. Counselor Seymour and Counselor Scully, along with multiple members of the employee leadership team, attended our police awards ceremony. I would highly recommend going to this ceremony if you can in the future. We really heard stories about the bravery and duty to care and respect for human life that our police officers display daily. And we heard some really specific stories of their bravery and heroism. So in almost every single one of the stories but one, really heroic efforts were made to prevent injury or death of anyone involved, including the suspects, even when guns were pointed at our officers. So it was really pretty compelling stories that were heard. And so multiple members of our police department were awarded. It was long overdue because obviously with COVID, we could not have an award ceremony last year. But with all of the national conversation around policing, it was such a special event to really remind us about the nobility of the profession and the level of commitment our officers have. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who worked hard to put that together. I believe Jackie Bowers from the city manager's office, along with Stephanie Bingham, who is who's on the foundation board, and then Sergeant Ray Esslinger, I believe were critical in putting that together, and it was a really great event. So that kind of concludes my update for last week. I do want to go in, unless anyone has questions on anything.
I don't see any questions, but I've included also the link over to the Public Safety Recognition Foundation's contact information that we have is up to date on our website. They do an amazing job, of course, with the team over at CMO's office and others. So if you're interested in learning more about this nonprofit that really supports some of our safety workers, this is the opportunity for you to go out there and learn more about them.
Right. And I think I typically like to say, you know, policing is a noble profession. We can't have any of our other goals as a community if people don't feel safe within the community. And that's people from all backgrounds and all portions of our city. But any profession where you can take someone's life, liberty, or property, you hold yourselves to higher standards. And so this award ceremony was really going out of the way to recognize people that even go above and beyond these already very high standards for policing. So I just wanted to say it was a very inspiring event. So please check out the foundation. So this week we have a very long agenda. I believe the Mayor Pro Tem is still on. I think it was 975 pages in our packet, and there's a lot that's in there, and a lot of it's really important. So I'm going to kind of breeze through it, but feel free to slow me down and ask me questions if you have any. First, we're going to have an executive session to talk about a personnel matter. Afterwards, we're going to have the first item on the agenda is the appointment and swearing in of the Associate Municipal Court Judge. So Westminster City Council does not have a say in the hiring of the Associate Municipal Court Judge, but they will be sworn in at our ceremony tonight. I know we had a really deep, rich pool of applicants, and Judge Lontine had his work cut out for him selecting the right person. Next, we're going to go into our public hearings and new business, and we will receive the Harris Park Community Vision Plan. This is a plan that's a long time coming. We've received a lot of stakeholder and resident input on it, and it's great to receive this and see how our community would like to grow as we age. So it's a great document. I think it was well done, and I'd recommend people take a peek at it. There's some IGAs within the packet, and I think they really highlight how we as a city try to work proactively with our neighbors for looking for efficiencies and cost-saving measures with the taxpayers' dollars. So there's a few of those in there. There's information on how we intend to spend our $14.5 million that we're receiving as part of the American Rescue Plan. So take a peek at that. It's broken out in multiple different sectors. And one of the things recognizing that this is an opportunity to make generational change and huge improvements within the city, we've really looked at the ways to maximize those dollars. So we'll be voting on that tonight. Also, we're going to be looking at just parking agreements at our downtown. Not that exciting, but important. And then there's a lot of contracts in regards to water resources. Finally, then we're going to have a revised employment agreement with Mr. Frankel, who is our city attorney. And then an employment agreement with Jody Andrews for his role as going from acting to interim city manager. On second reading, then we're going to have some information we're going to have our second vote on the infrastructure program for streetlight costs and concrete replacement. We're also going to have a second reading of water and sewer rates. And the reason those two are not in the consent agenda is because they did not pass unanimously on first reading, just if people are wondering why a second reading is pulled out. And then finally, this has been a really big topic within the community. We're going to be voting on our comprehensive plan. So does anyone have questions on that?
Does anyone have any questions? That was a lot of information that you were able to share with folks, and I'm glad that you broke that down for them. Now, for all of you that are interested in seeing the full agenda, you can follow the link that I've included in the chat section for you. But our mayor did break down kind of the big bullet items of what they will be talking about this week. Of course, you can be there watching it or watch it on their YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, pop them into the chat section or even ask them of our counselors this evening at their meetings, because they do want to hear this information, whether it's about our comp plans or updates to agreements that they have, if it's about information as it relates to employer agreements that are out there, employee relationship things that are coming up with our two that we just discussed. Feel free to reach out. They are welcome to any comments and feedback, and we just want to make sure that as much in agreement as we can be as possible, we are.
Agreed. Are there any questions on any of that? And I should have said in the consent agenda, because it passed unanimously on first reading, is the 2022 budget, which I think is a really big deal that passed unanimously at our last meeting.
That is a pretty great deal. And I can't think of if even was last year's, if that even went through as fast. So budgets are generally one of those there. It's always, where do you allocate and how do you justify that, and getting everyone to see that perspective. It's huge to be able to pass it on the first time. So kudos to the council for coming together and make that happen.
And I don't know if anyone else is as impressed as I am with how quickly Juliet takes recap notes while I'm talking, but she is could have been a court reporter or something.
Right. This is another profession. If I ever wanted to do something,
I'm always in awe of it. So.
Well, thank you so much for that. Mayor, I don't see any questions, shockingly, about this information. You all are doing a lot. Elections are right around the corner. Ballots have already been mailed. People are already turning those in. If you've not received yours, of course, I encourage you to connect with your county department, so that way you are receiving your ballot and can make your voice heard on our city council candidates, mayoral candidates that are out there. There are a lot of things in transition happening. Of course, great opportunities at our city hall, and some leadership changes, but overall, I think it's for the best that we are all kind of information sharing and coming together to make this an opportunity, not so much a challenge for our community. So I don't see any additional comments or questions. Mayor, was there anything else you wanted to make as final remarks for folks?
I do, and I really regret that I didn't mention this earlier. One of the reasons the police award ceremony was such a wonderful event was one of your members did the catering. Carabas and Parker Brown were there, and I was joking with my table. If they had I might have the sauce on the chicken marsala, I could have had it as soup or a drink. It was so delicious. So I just wanted to say thank you. He was greeting people as we came in the door. The food was amazing, and just appreciate that. Carrabba's is always such a great community sponsor.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Parker. There's a testimonial for you if you're waiting on another one this morning. But one of the things that a lot of us always see, and those of us that are really start getting engaged in the community, is you really start seeing those friendly faces that are willing to support one another and do things like this, where you are supplying this unique experience for folks. That is a ceremony that I've attended in the past, and I found so much value in it. And as the mayor has shared, there's a lot that's going on around law enforcement nationally, even statewide. And so it's nice to be able to hone it down on a local level and be able to celebrate the successes of the department that are worthy of us kind of recognizing and coming together and showing that appreciation for it. And where we need to improve, we try and improve. We're not perfect. And anyone that says that they are, that is not the community for you. So Parker is hopping on and sharing a quick thank you for that, that it was a special event for him. So thank you, Parker. And thank you, Mayor, for that kind remark and note and all the information from today. Again, a quick reminder, we touched on a number of things from Tri-County Health Department changes with Adams County, kind of moving away from that agreement that they've had. Updates on that will be more in depth at the discussion at the Board of County Commissioners for Adams County tomorrow. So Tuesday morning is when they have it. You can tune in on YouTube so that you can engage in that regard. We also touched on COVID and vaccine availability to adolescents, kind of 12 and under, some FDA tests that are going on around Pfizer, Moderna kind of speeding up so that they can also be able to offer this. The links are included in the comment section, of course, from our mayor. And then we did a nice overview of numbers, of course, noting that some of these numbers may not be the exact ones that you're requesting. So ask us those questions so that way we can come back to you. I know we've had a couple of questions that were a little atypical, which were great for us to be able to kind of go back and get you those answers. So if you hear of anything and you're like, oh, why didn't you guys share this? Just let us know and we'll do our best to get those for you. The links for the individual websites are also in the chat section if you're interested in finding out at the state level, by county breakdown. We also included numbers and changes over the last week. Some of the Jeffco numbers, of course, don't get updated until later this afternoon, so keep that in mind. And then our mayor quickly went over what is going on this week for city council and in detail on kind of large, big header items that they have. We've also included the links for you to the agenda so that you can be engaged and informed on the meeting or on the call that's later this evening and be able to not only provide input, but ask any questions that you might have of our counselors and our mayor. So with that, Mayor, I will give you, I went over a little bit, so I can't give you any more time, but I'll give you the rest of your morning so you can at least be elsewhere because I know you've got a lot on your plate. So thank you so much for fitting this in on a weekly basis.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Juliet, and thank you, Chamber members.